Well, these are certainly no better than everyone else's. One thing I would say is that all of us should be preoccupied with trying to be a good ancestor. So, so when people look back and they realize that we took responsibility for what was to come, and I hope we can induce people to think in those terms and find some ways to reward them before that future arrives so that they can anticipate that they've done the right thing. But getting people to do the right thing is hard. And so we all know that there are only two ways to do this. One of them is to legislate and say you must do this or there will be consequences. Or we can find ways of rewarding people for their good behavior. An example of that kind of reward, I guess, is the carbon trading arrangement, where even if you haven't fully managed to become dependent only on green energy or produce only green energy, at least you can use money in order to offset your failure, and that money goes to helping to find better solutions. Um, I was increasingly worried about the complexity of all of this. We don't really fully understand the entire climate and weather system yet, even though we're seeing dramatic variation we haven't seen before. So complexity is going to be a serious challenge. By this, I mean not just the dynamics of global warming, but the complexity of the society that we live in, our dependency on high tech, and our dependency on electricity. When it isn't available, all kinds of cascade failures can happen. And so I get nervous about our mobiles and how dependent we are on them, because when they don't work, many things come crashing down. At least one person suggested using social media to induce better behavior, and I think that's not a bad idea. We've seen how powerful social media can be in inducing certain kinds of behavior. Figuring out how to achieve that and to make use of behavioral economics and our increasing awareness of how people actually make decisions as opposed to the ones that the economists think that they make. Um, I thought the point about food insecurity was super important. And it does suggest to me, once again, that dietary change could be an important response. We know that certain foodstuffs require enormous amounts of water, whether that's meat or almonds in California. We might try to work on dietary change in order to shift the demand for water, for example, and maybe even move towards a more vegetarian diet. Um, some people have suggested we should eat insects. I have never quite gotten to the point where I'm comfortable with that, but I've met I've met some folks in tribal areas in the South Pacific that
Very
seem to be
unimpressive.
very comfortable with that sort of thing. So I think my biggest concern is our ability to get large populations responding in ways that are that contribute to the solution, because it's very clear that just relying on big companies or relying on governments is not enough unless we have a population of people who care uh, enough to do something. There was a hint of something that I liked very much, and that was the idea of moving away from single use kinds of products, moving away from the repeated demand for the new, as opposed to keeping things running, designing things to be repairable, for example, giving credibility to people still wearing, like I do, suits from 30 or 40 years ago. I'm actually proud of the fact that I can still fit in the suits that I bought 30 years ago. And I have a tailor who maintains them. So some of those things I think might help contribute to solving, or at least coping, let us say, with these problems. Oh, I can't resist. Somebody made the point that 50,000 years ago, the world was full of risks. Animals were trying to kill us and eat us, and we fixed that. Now apparently we're trying to kill ourselves.
You know, Vint, I forgot someone is, I was speaking to a friend of mine, David Shane,
who heard you speak many years ago, and someone said to you, Vint, we really thanks for like finding the internet. And you said to them, listen, I founded the internet. It's your job now to basically solve all the problems and the messes that it's actually created. Do you remember that?
Well, I do, but I would prefer a slightly different metaphor. I see this as Bob and I creating a road system and a bunch of rules for getting things onto the road, but we didn't say the details of the vehicles. We didn't say what the vehicles were carrying. We didn't say what buildings should be built along the side of the roads. We tried to build an infrastructure that other people could build on, and they have. It's just that it is such a powerful amplifier that we are still just learning how to use it safely.
That's amazing. And maybe that can be part of a solution with maybe the metaverse.
Well, you know, people have been pressing me on this metaverse thing, and I just recently got one of the Oculus products because some of my friends are insisting that I have to experience this amazing virtual world. And I'm sitting here thinking, wait a minute, for the past 2 years, we hated being forced. If I can get this thing out of my pocket here. There we are. We hated being forced to put these on. Okay, now can you imagine what it's going to be like to have this thing on for, for the entire day? I don't know about you, but I'm still skeptical.